Hello everyone, this is Oishi, and today I am going to talk about a mystery thriller series that has religion, specifically Christianity, as a big part of itself. So before I start talking about the books, I want to tell you something that I probably should have said in my channel intro but forgot, and that is while I do somewhat keep up with the new big thriller releases, I don't always read the newest books. Maybe mystery thriller was a big name 5 or 10 years ago even, or maybe I found it browsing Goodreads, so if it interests me I will read it. And also, since this channel is new but my habit of reading thrillers is not new at all, taken those two things together, I might end up talking about books on this channel that are not always new. I hope that's okay, because while I do understand that if I talk about a book 2 years or 3 years old, maybe a lot of you have already read it, but at the same time I believe there are enough people out there who might not have been keeping up that much with the new releases. So I hope it's okay when I talk about mystery thrillers that are not necessarily, super new, and I am going to do that, I think. So yeah, that is done. Now, the series that I want to talk about today, it is so underhyped. It has no hype. In fact, when I went to Goodreads and looked at the ratings, and basically I looked at how many people rated the books. The first book, which I think came out a few years ago, has under 300 ratings on Goodreads, and the last book, the first book of the series, I think, which came out last year or this year maybe, whatever, it has less than 100 ratings. And guys, this series is good. I want people to give it a chance. I want people to read it, and that's why I'm making this video. Now, the series is called it's the Mad Hunter series by the British author Peter Laws. Now, the author is a lot of things. I think he is or was a church minister. He has his own horror show on YouTube. He has a podcast. He does a lot of things, but the author is not our discussion point here. So the books are about Mad Hunter. Now, Mad Hunter is our protagonist who was a church minister, but something happened and he got disillusioned. He became an unbeliever, and now he is a sociology professor who kind of helps the police with their cases when there is a religious twist in their cases, like demonic something or ritualistic killing or some kind of religious symbolism. So, and he also writes books, and his books, while not really anti-religious, he writes from an atheist point of view, and anything he sees or anything that turns up in the cases that seems like supernatural stuff, he always tries to explain the things rationally. And he's like, oh, there is no God and there is no demon, and these are all fake stuff, and I can explain everything rationally. So there has been 4 books so far. The first book was called Purged. In that book, Matt and his family, he has a wife and he has 2 children. One of them is his stepdaughter, and the younger one of them is his own. So with his family in that book Purged, Matt goes to British countryside because his wife has to renovate a home or something there, and there he meets his old frenemy from his Christian school, and things also dead women start turning up, and there is also some religious symbolism going on, and the village itself is very religious. There are like crosses in every turn, and he's like, okay, what is happening, who is doing this? And that's the book. That's the first book. And the second book is called Unleashed. In that book we see that there was a famous haunted house that was kind of notorious for its poltergeist activities, and like years later there was a person who died, and years later someone who was known to that person, someone who was part of that group, also dies in a very weird way that has a lot of like, you know, demonic vibes. So Matt is called and he goes out and investigates. The third book is called Severed, and it is about a guy who is, it's not about a guy, it's about a kid who kind of is the son of the vicar, and in the middle of the communion, or what is it, congregation, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation, I just don't remember the word, I'm sorry, not Christian. Either way, in the middle of doing his church speech, his son kind of rushes in and butchers his father, and everyone says that okay, this kid was worshipping the devil, and then he kind of vanishes, and that's what the police are trying to solve. And there is also a cult element in this book, then all of it comes together in the end. And the fourth book is called Possessed. In my opinion, that is the best book of the series so far. So it's about demonic possession. On one hand, one guy is found and he's confessing to killings, and he's claiming that he's possessed by a demon. On the other hand, there is a documentary being made about demonic possessions, and all of these people who claim that they are possessed by a demon are kind of taken together in a room, and there is an evangelist and there is Matt, and they kind of face off each other trying to prove that okay, this is demonic possession versus this is scientific, and this is a mental health issue. So these are the 4 books of the series. I just thought I would give you a summary of each of these to let you know how the books kind of go, you know, how to feel like. Now my personal opinion about thriller books are that I don't prefer when everything depends on the twist, or everything depends on the big reveal, or it's so important who the killer is. I don't really, I understand that there are a lot of good thrillers that go that way, but I personally prefer something different, something unique all the time. And this series is so favorite to me is because it actually balances the whole is it natural or is it supernatural vibe very well, because I already said Matt sees everything through rational lenses, but the books themselves kind of play with the idea that okay, everything is rational, and at the end there is always a rational explanation. But what about that one little thing? What about what happened in that specific moment? So doesn't that feel like supernatural? And Matt is also wondering like, yeah, I don't believe it, I can't believe there is any demon, I cannot believe there is evil out to get me, but at the same time he is like, but what about that, was it supernatural? So the book kind of plays with that idea, and since there is like demons and evil in these books, the writing and the atmosphere of the storytelling, and when specifically when we're not getting Matt's own perspective, because while most of the books are narrated by him, there are other chapters that maybe he wasn't present that time and we needed to know that part of the story. So those were parts that were written from not his point of view. And whenever we're getting that, we are getting very atmospheric writing, you know, it's set up like a horror scene a lot of the times, and I love that. I love knowing that I'm reading a book and it's a thriller, and at the end the book is not going to tell me that, you know, a ghost was the killer, so that's it, bye. So that's not going to happen, but at the same time I love feeling the creepy atmosphere. This is actually one of my favorite niches of thriller books, and I have a lot of books and series that fall into that category. I hope to talk about them later, but this is one of the things that I love about the books. The second thing I love is the thrillers are generally well plotted and well written. It's not like, oh, the author had an idea that, hey, what if we had religious crimes, and what if we had an atheist minister and he tried to solve crimes and he all fumbled about all over the place. It's not like that. They are quite well plotted, and I personally thought that each book got better, especially in case of the first book. I thought that if you read a lot of thrillers, you could kind of guess where the first book was going, you know, killer wise. But the second book was not predictable at all. I kind of also felt like the ending was a little bit outlandish, just a little bit, but a little bit outlandish. But the third book wasn't like that, and the third book actually doesn't even revolve around finding the killer. It's mostly a thriller about this cult who think they're the saviors of the world, sort of, and what they will do. And the fourth book, as I said, I already said that I think it's the best book of the series. It also kind of goes into a very gory, I must warn you, that was very gory, but yeah, it doesn't revolve around the identity of one killer, but there is also always a bad guy, that okay, who is behind this, who is orchestrating this, and it's never going to be a ghost, but at the same time it's very well plotted and well written, that okay, I can see this, I can see how this makes sense. They're well plotted books. And about the writing, I thought the writing also got a lot better with each book gradually. Not a lot better, it wasn't really ever bad, but I personally felt it got better. And also something I already mentioned, the creepy vibes of the books, that I am personally a fan. And lastly, another great thing about the books is Matt Hunter as a protagonist. I find him very likable, so that's important when you're reading a book and you're kind of stuck in a person's head and you have to see their thoughts and how they see things. It's important that if they're unlikable, we see that a lot in thrillers. We have an unlikable narrator, but you understand or you're fascinated, but it's also kind of mentally exhausting sometimes, right? I mean, when we were reading Gone Girl, when we were stuck in the head of Amy Dunn, it wasn't really fun, was it? But with Matt, we see, at least I feel that he's very likable, and even though he's always kind of really firm in his opinion that okay, this is what I believe and this is rational, and God is fake and the demons are fake and this can be happening. At the same time, we see that he has a vulnerable side, and he is not really kind of he's not conceited. He is also doubting himself, and he is also, we see in the books that he has a family, as I already said, and the family dynamic part of the books, Matt's dynamic with his wife, with his children, it's also very nice, and this kind of comes as a refreshing aside in the books. And I personally love when a character is so fleshed out that you care about that character, and you care about that character's family as well. So that is another strong point of the book. And if I have to talk about like the bad sides of the book, the cons, I don't think there are any that way. I already talked about how the plot and the writing both got better over the books, and I already talked about that the protagonist argues that there is no God. So if you're particularly religious and you don't really want to read a book about an atheist point of view, you are probably not going to like it, because it goes into religion a lot in each book, and that is a big part of the books. So you probably don't want to read that if that's how you think. But other than that, I recommend that you pick up these books, because as I said, so underhyped, and I read a lot of hyped thrillers. A lot of them are very good, but a lot of them are also just meh. For example, if you guys remember when The Silent Patient won the Goodreads Choice Award for the best thriller of the year, I was really I was really disturbed, because I thought Alex North's Whisperman was the best thriller, and it was so much better than Silent Patient. And I was like, you know what, not always, I mean, the best book don't always have the biggest hype, and I just wanted to put the Matt Hunter series on your radar. So if from what I've told you, if you think you're going to be interested, go ahead and check them out on Goodreads or whatever. Pick up the first book, see how you like it. But I believe that if you like well plotted, well written thrillers with a lot of suspense, with a lot of action, with a lot of mystery and a lot of family drama and love, I think you're gonna like the series. So that was my review of the Matt Hunter series by Peter Laws. I think my next video is going to be reviewing two Peter Swanson books, 9 Lives and Every Vow You Break. I already read the books and I already know what I'm going to say, so you can expect the videos I think 3 days from now. But until then, bye, and thank you to those who liked and subscribed, and please support me if you think my content is worth supporting. Bye.